Hey folks, this is Vince with Dad's Gaming Addiction, and today we're going to quickly check out the card game Resistor. It's for 2 players for ages 8 and up, and the average play time is about 20 minutes. Now this game is pretty unique, so I apologize if you don't get some of the key concepts right away. It's a 2-player game, as I stated. One player is red, the other player is blue. They start with these mainframe cards over here. The top one says DEFCON 1, on the reverse side of that is DEFCON 2, then you've got DEFCON 3, reverse side is DEFCON 4. Each player starts at DEFCON 1, and your objective is to get your opponent to DEFCON 4 and then do another point of damage, and then that will eliminate them from the game. How do you do damage? Well, that's where these circuit cards come into play. You're trying to create a line of your color from your mainframe to your opponent's mainframe. So if I'm red, I'm going to want to try and get a red line to connect all the way across here to the blue mainframe. If I manage to do that, then my opponent has to raise their DEFCON level. So that's just the gist of the game. Let me just go ahead and show you some of the components here. Here's the box. As you can see, there's a hole in it, but there's a reason for that. It's actually pretty cool. Whenever this game is put away, all of the cards go into this sleeve, and it's put into the box like that, and then you put the lid on top like that. However, during the game, it's important that players only see one side of a card at a time, which is why the sleeve exists, so players can't see what they're drawing. So the way this works is you're going to put this sleeve, I just dropped the box, you're going to put this sleeve in like this. There you go. And then it's going to sit like this during the game, and then players will just simply be drawing from this box over here throughout the game, not being able to see what card is about to come up. So in order to set up the game, each player is going to choose a color. One's going to be red, one's going to be blue. You're going to start on DEFCON 1, and then the reverse side again, DEFCON 2, DEFCON 3, DEFCON 4. And then you're going to deal 7 of these circuit cards in between the 2 mainframe cards. Again, your mainframe cards are here. And then each player is going to get 2 cards to form their starting hand. Now these cards are 2-sided. This is very important, and this is a big part of the gameplay here. A player can only see one side of the card at a time. They cannot see the reverse side. However, their opponent can see the reverse side. So if I am red, for example, and this is red's hand, this is my hand, I will be able to see these cards, but blue, my opponent, will be able to see what's on the reverse side of these cards. I am not allowed to turn these cards around and look at them. So I will have some information as to what's on these cards, and my opponent will have some information. Likewise, my opponent will be able to see one side of his cards, and then on the reverse side, I can see what he has on the reverse side. So there's a little bit of strategy here, and a little bit of memorization. In fact, a lot of memorization involved, because again, all of these cards here are 2-sided, and you'll be flipping cards throughout the game, trying to get your lines to connect. So you've also got these action cards here. These help players keep track of what they've done on their turn. There's switch out, flip over, draw, and trash. There is an optional 4th one, which I'm not going to include in this example, but players are free to include it if they want to. Again, these are 2-sided, and these are the 2 lockdown cards that go with this particular optional action. But again, I'm going to leave that out. But to set up the game, each player chooses a color, 7 cards are dealt in the middle, and you're going to connect these via these little black chips. There's little black chips at the edges of these cards, and you're just going to align them so that they all connect like that. It may look a little weird, like, because, you know, if you want a straight line, you know, there's little spaces up here, but trust me, it's how it's supposed to look, okay? So once you have that done, each player has a hand of 2 cards. Whoever has the fewest lines of their color on the table in this line, for example, there's red on this, red on this, red. Okay, so there's 4 red, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 blue. So red has fewer cards, so red would go first. So we're going to flip these action cards over to their red side, and then red would go ahead and make the first move. Okay, so on a player's turn, they have 3 actions. They take each one of these one time, and as they take the action, they'll flip the card over to the other side to remind them that they've already done it. So the flip over basically means that you can take a card on this line and flip it to the other side. And then you're going to line the black chips appropriately. Okay? So that's the first thing that you can do. The second thing that you can do is draw and trash. Basically, you draw a card from the deck here, and then you can add it to either player's hand. Now, it's important that the side that you look at whenever you draw it is the side that you're always going to see. You can't flip to the other side to see what it is. So as you take from here, you're only going to be able to see the one side. Let's say if I put it into my opponent's hand, I'm going to do it like this, so I continue to see it like this. And then my opponent will not be able to see the one side, but he'll be able to see what's on the reverse side. So again, it's a little confusing on, you know, how players maneuver the cards to make sure that they only see the one side. That's probably the most confusing part about the game. But once you draw a card and add it to either player's hand, you're going to discard a card from the same hand, again, based on what you can see. And I'm just going to pick one at random here. So you're going to discard one and be done with it. Okay. So now that this player is back down the 2 cards, and that's the draw and trash action. Finally, you've got switch out. It's basically the same thing. You're going to take a card from here, add it to either player's hand, and then replace it with a card. So let's say I decide I want to replace this one. So again, I'm looking, this is the card, this is the side that both players can see. So I, as the active player, always have to see this side of it. I cannot see the reverse side. I have to remember what was on that reverse side. So if I'm going to add it to my hand, I have to add it like this so I can see it. If I add it to my opponent's hand, then I have to add it in such a way to where I still see only this side and not the reverse side. So if I were to add it to my hand, and then I'm going to want to put it back. Let's say I'm red. I may want to replace it with something like this to add more red lines to this, to this line here, so that I can have a better chance of connecting a line from red over to blue. And that is the switch out action. Okay, so now that I've covered these basic actions, I want to quickly touch on these resistors because there's a certain series of steps that you have to take whenever they were revealed. So there's 2 ways that a resistor can come up. Let's say that you take the draw and trash action and you trash a card from your opponent's hand or your hand because you don't know what's on the other side, and you happen to trash a resistor. If you trash a resistor, then your opponent gets to take a free flip over action. The other way they can come up is if, let's say you take the flip over action and you reveal a resistor. Now there's a series of things that'll happen. If you can manage to get a direct line from the resistor to your mainframe, you actually heal yourself by 1 point, or you get to lower your DEFCON level. In this case, it's not going to happen because this blue here, I mean, this resistor only has blue wires connected to it, and the connection actually stops right here. There's no blue wire running on this card to the right. But if there were a connection here, here, and here running all the way to blue, then blue would be able to heal himself by 1. After that, you're going to go ahead and flip over the cards that are connected to this resistor, regardless of whether or not they're connected to the mainframe. So in this case, this blue is connected to this blue here. So this card is going to flip over. And if you happen to flip over another resistor, you have to resolve that after you're done with this one. So after you're done flipping cards, nothing gets flipped on this side because there's no connection over here. You're going to take the resistor out of the game, and then you're going to slide these cards over and the line will shorten. So as the game continues and as more resistors are revealed in this line, this whole line here will shorten, and it'll be easier to score on your opponents. Okay, so there you have it, a quick look at the card game Resistor. Now, I did have a more professional outro recorded, well, quote-unquote professional, but unfortunately I lost it. It uploaded with no sound, so I'm having to re-record the outro. So this is why the video looks a little weird and maybe a bit unprofessional. I'm sort of throwing this together at the last second. But what did I think of Resistor? Well, in terms of theme, it is incredibly unique. I don't have a lot of games in my collection like it. In fact, I can't really claim to have anything in my collection like it. So on uniqueness alone, I would recommend it to just about anybody. However, there is, one thing to consider here. Resistor relies heavily on memorization, and for those of you that suck at memorization like I do, you may not enjoy yourself with this game. I got past the whole memorization bit because I found the theme to be very unique, and I thought the gameplay mechanics and everything was sound. So I thought that was good enough to get past the whole memorization issue. Because in this game, you really, really have to pay attention to both sides of those circuit board cards. Because you could be making moves and flipping cards over that end up hurting you in the end. So you really have to pay attention to the cards that are being moved around, switched out, that kind of thing. And honestly, there are folks out there that do not like memorization games because they're bad at them. I am one of those people. But again, I think that Resistor is unique enough and just plain out cool enough to where I don't mind that problem as much. So, do I recommend Resistor? Yes. You can find it on Level 99 Games website, I believe, for about $20. So, it's unique enough, in my opinion, to at least check out. If you guys haven't done so already, check out my written review, www.dadsgamingaddiction.com. And, of course, subscribe to my YouTube channel. That way you can keep up to date with any new content I happen to publish. This is Vince. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.